A subscriber asked how to uppercase all the titles in a PowerPoint presentation using VBA. This video will be how to do that, but with PowerShell instead of VBA. And it will be a general introduction to controlling PowerPoint with PowerShell. Probably the subscriber had a presentation with many title layout slides, so it wasn't practical to change all the title text manually. Something like this. This was generated with PowerShell, and we'll see that in the end. We'll assume the presentation is already open. For this video, I am trying out PowerShell Studio 2020 instead of the PowerShell ISE or a text editor such as Visual Studio Code. In the end, PowerShell code is all text, so everything in this video will work equally well in ISE or any text editor. I have tested it in ISE as well. An integrated development environment such as PowerShell Studio will definitely make some parts of the development easier though. If you are following along in PowerShell Studio, go to File, Options, Editor, Assemblies, the plus sign, and select Microsoft.Office.Interop.PowerPoint. This is strictly optional, but it will make your development easier in PowerShell Studio. If you're following along in ISE or Visual Studio Code, just skip this step. We'll end up with the same code no matter what the editor is. It's just that we'll be able to browse and point and click with PowerShell Studio rather than type some of the text manually. PowerPoint libraries, or assemblies, allow us to control PowerPoint from PowerShell. But these PowerPoint assemblies are not usable by default in PowerShell, so we have to reference them. Add type -assembly name Microsoft.Office.Interop.PowerPoint. In VBA, this is the same thing as Tools, References. Another way to do this is with System.Reflection.Assembly load with partial name Microsoft.Office.Interop.PowerPoint. But load with partial name has been deprecated in PowerShell in favor of add type. If you have an older version of PowerShell and add type is not working, go ahead and use load with partial name instead. It works too. Now let's get a new PowerPoint application. This is the application as a whole, not any particular presentation. PPT equals new object, com object, PowerPoint.application. We'll write a PowerShell function called convert title uppercase that will take the presentation at which to change the titles. We'll send it the only open presentation, the one that has the focus, the active presentation. Convert-title uppercase -presentation $PPT.active presentation. Let's create the function. Function convert-title uppercase. Now we define the function parameters. In many languages, you define the parameters a function takes in the same line as the function definition within parentheses. Not PowerShell though. PowerShell has a param block. Param. Our parameter name will be presentation. $presentation. This would be legal as it is. You don't have to specify the parameter type, but you should because it will enable autocomplete and better document your code. Cast to Microsoft.Office.Interop.PowerPoint.presentation class. Now let's iterate over all the slides in the parameter presentation. For I equals 1, I is less than or equal to presentation.slides.count, I++. VBA collections start at 1, not 0. Now we will find the shape on the slide that is the title shape. $S equals find title -slide presentation.slides index I. So we need to write a find title PowerShell function that will be parameterized on a PowerShell slide object and return the title shape. Function find title. We define the parameters the same way as the last function, param. The parameter name will be slide, $slide. Again, we could get away with parameters just like this, without defining the type. We know at development time that the slide type name is Microsoft.Office.Interop CmdletBinding.PowerPoint.slide. However, in this case, I couldn't get PowerShell to cast the slide object to Microsoft.Office.Interop.PowerPoint.slide, or underscore slide, or slide class. If you know how to strongly type this parameter, let me know in the comments below. So we won't specify a type for the slide parameter. You should always try to specify a type for parameters and only fall back like this as a last resort. The consequence of not specifying the type here will be less help from PowerShell at development time and less documented code. Basically, we just have to know the properties and methods on the slide object from memory and documentation. Now we will iterate over all the shapes on the parameter slide. For I equals 1, I is less than or equal to slide.shapes.count, I++. VBA collections are 1-based, not 0-based. Next, we will get the shape name, since PowerPoint inserts these with the naming pattern that will help us find the title shape. Shape name equals slide.shapes, I.name, cast to string. We cast the name to a string so we can get autocomplete. The test of whether a shape is a title is if it starts with title. At least that is one way to do it. If shape name that starts with title. If we find the title shape, we'll return it right away. We assume there is only one title on each slide. Return slide.shapes_index_I. So this function assumes there will be one title shape per slide. The logic would have to be adjusted if that is not true. Now back in the convert title uppercase function, we'll get the text of the title shape. Title text equals $s.textframe.textrange.text cast to string. First, we cast the text to a string to get autocomplete. This assumes all titles will have text. If some titles do not have text, we need extra guards, such as has text. Now finally, this is where we uppercase the title. s.textframe.textrange.text equals title text.toUpper. Now let's run this. Control F5 in PowerShell Studio or F5 in PowerShell ISE. See that the titles have all been uppercased? The rest of the code is not necessary if you just want to uppercase. But stick around if you want a more general introduction to PowerShell. We will make our PowerShell functions advanced by adding a little decoration to the param blocks. CmdletBinding. This is literally called an advanced function in PowerShell now, which sounds a little intimidating. The difference between a plain old vanilla function and an advanced function is not that much though. One difference is that our function can now accept the common parameters. The common parameter we'll be using is verbose. When called with -verbose, the function can write extra debugging style information that may not always be appropriate. In convert title uppercase, we'll add verbose output what the title was changed from and to. Write verbose, changed title, placeholder 0 to placeholder 1, -f, title text.toUpper. In find title, we'll add verbose output when the title shape is found and when it isn't. Write verbose, placeholder 0 is the title shape, -f, shape name. Write verbose, placeholder 0 is not a title shape, -f, shape name. Now let's add comment-based help. It starts with <bang and ends with bang greater, and has keywords within it that are parsed and displayed nicely in help. So now we can run help find title or help convert title uppercase. And if we run again with the verbose parameter we'll see the verbose output. Convert title uppercase dash verbose dash presentation ppt.active presentation. Now let's see how we can create the example starting presentation with PowerShell. Function new example presentation. We'll use the application and scope of the whole script to make a new presentation. Now let's say we want 25 slides, so we loop from 1 to 25. For I equals 1, I is less than or equal to 25, I plus plus. I will be the slide index, and VBA collections are 1-based. Add a slide. Slide equals pres.slides.add I Microsoft.Office.Interop.PowerPoint.pp slide layout pp layout title. The slides collection add method takes the index of the slide where the slide goes and the slide layout. Instead of Microsoft.Office.Interop.PowerPoint pp slide layout pp layout title, you can substitute 20. This is available in the documentation. We'll use the find title function earlier to get the title shape. Title shape equals find title dash slide slide. Now make the text something that will be easy to verify. Title shape.textframe.textrange.text equals ABCDEFGHOJ. Return the presentation. Return pres. Running it, we get the example presentation. New example presentation.